Hello friends, I bought this Pioneer PL-514 turntable at a thrift store the other day for $12.99 with some discounts. It was sold as is, so we're going to find out if this is good, if it needs repair, or if it's total junk. When this was in the store, the platen was off center and loose, but that was actually good. I was able to look inside and see that the motor spun after turning it in. Scooter's going to help me. What do you think, Scooter? Does it smell funny? So in the store, the platen was off center, and I was able to see that it has a belt that was loose, not broken. And I was able to test it in the store to see that at least the motor underneath turned. So we're going to take that all apart again and look at that and see how it goes. I took this rubber mat and platen off of it. You can see what I was left with here. We've got what appears to be an OK belt that needs to be attached to the platen. I'm going to plug it in and turn it on and show you some basic operation here. So what I found in the store after plugging it in, you can see that the tone arm isn't balanced, but that's easy to fix with a little adjustment. And in particular, this is a semi-automatic type. So as I lift up the arm over here, the motor spins, and I can go back and it'll stop. So that's a pretty positive sign. It came with what appears to be a new needle, or maybe it's the old needle. So that's worth something right there. You can see that the belt looks kind of sad here. I don't know if it's stretched out or if that's just, you know, no big deal, but we'll put the platen back on it and with the belt attached and try to get that going and see if it turns the platen properly. I've never put a turntable belt back on before, so forgive me if I don't do that right, but it looks like the simplest thing is to take it off of the spindle here, get it onto the platen backwards. I'm doing this with one hand while I film. Okay. The fact that that needs to be stretched a little bit is a good sign. Okay, well that's a two-handed job, so that'll be done in 3, 2, 1. So I've got the belt back on the back side. I stuck my finger here by this hole. We can put that on here. Somehow. Okay, turns out that was a two-handed job also, especially since Scooter had to get involved. But I'll just drape that right over that very easily. It goes down inside this guide area. It may be twisted, so I'll have to check that. Okay, it was twisted, so I kind of redid that. We'll put it down. I think it'll just kind of work its way down there naturally. We'll just go ahead and turn it a little bit manually. That seems like it's going pretty well. In retrospect, maybe I should have dusted out the inside. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm just using some regular computer duster. Oh, that made Scooter upset. Are you upset, Scooter? I can understand that. Are you mad? Fighting mad? Well, I can't say that did much of anything, but maybe it shook stuff loose that we can pull out from underneath. I've also done a light wipe down on this area. I used my little bottle of record cleaner that I've made. This is a standard solution you can find on the internet. The formula is some isopropyl alcohol and a drop of rinse aid and distilled water in a combination. So you can see some of the grime that came off of this surface. Probably doesn't affect the performance any, but it's just kind of good to clean things while we're here. So after re-cleaning that, I've placed the platen and belt back on. That seems to be pretty good. Plug it back in. And it's working. Should be in the auto shut-off mode, although it may have worked its way over to that. So here you can see that the auto shut-off mode is working fine, and it seems to be nominally okay. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in there, but I can see a needle in there in the head, so that's all a good sign. You could see, whoops, that wasn't good. We'll try not to do that again. So this is kind of floating in the air, needs to be adjusted, but that's what this weight on the back is for. Before we go any further, let's talk about why this jumped off the shelf at me. You sometimes see turntables at thrift stores, and this one, you can tell it's kind of scuffed up, dirty, not much to look at as far as a beauty queen goes, but there's several things that told me just at a glance that this was a quality turntable of some kind. One is we've got this S-shaped arm. We've got some balancing adjustments, which is a sign of a high-end turntable. Cheap turntables never have those. Another sign of quality in a turntable is how heavy it is. This is extremely heavy. We'll weigh it later and tell you what it weighs out at. But basically, for a turntable to sound good, it has to have a lot of mass in the whole overall turntable and also in the platen. So that's a basic requirement. This side of the case was out of whack when I got it, but that was just easy to just lift up and place back inside. It's kind of a slat design on each side, has to match up. Here's my little talking scale I got at a thrift store. You need a talking scale for this because you can't see a reading on a normal scale when you put it on top. So we'll try that.
down.
So there are other videos on the internet that tell you how to balance a turntable. I'm not going to really go through that procedure in this video because other people know more about that than I do, but I'm just going to kind of follow the procedure. So here's some details on the stylus that came with it. I can tell now that this box is still sealed, so this is a new stylus. It's probably worth the cost of the turntable I paid just by itself. And it's a Shure M91 M92 cartridge type. So this is just literally the needle, and which is on the bottom of this part, and then it fits in there somehow. So we'll start with what's already in there, and maybe that'll be fine, or maybe I'll end up replacing it. So as a real quick procedure, I'm going to do what I remember on adjusting these. You adjust the big weight so that it kind of floats, and then you adjust the little weight. You put this on 0 in the process, and then there's a tracking force. This one says 1¼ grams on the back of the stylus. I've seen 1½ grams on the internet for this unit. Probably doesn't make much difference at my level of basic functionality. So we'll go with 1.5 grams. At this point I've adjusted the big weight at the back and the little weight at the bottom so that it pretty much floats, and this is 0 lined up with a red mark. You can see that if I touch it a little bit it kind of goes up and maybe has a little bit of downward force, but it's pretty close. So now if I dial in 1.5 here, then that should be the proper amount of tracking force, or pretty close to it. Now really quick, I rigged up this stereo and this bookshelf speakers just for a functional test. I've never even tried these before. They were kind of sitting around waiting to be tested. So we're going to just take the plunge and assume those work. So I've adjusted this to the 33 setting. Looks like it also supports 45. I've got an Olivia Newton-John record here, which has only been played a couple of times. Might have to blank the sound out of that if the YouTube cops get on me, but let's just try it. The anti-skate was set at 0, so that's fine. I'm going to use the cueing mechanism, and that should ride in the air and then come down. Okay, I can hear music coming directly off the needle. Got this turned down pretty far. May not have the right settings on it yet. Oh, I know. I didn't plug in the turntable. Let's do that and get right back to you. Here's the outputs at the turntable I forgot to plug in. So we'll just turn this up and see what happens. Nothing so far. I may not have it set right. Or maybe this unit simply doesn't work. Okay, well, we'll have to do some more proving on my other pieces before I worry about it. So either no sound is coming through the output of the turntable, or else maybe this unit is bad. I'm going to hook up an FM antenna to that real quick and then try to prove that, and could even be the speakers, but most likely it's maybe there's some sort of breakage in the output of this unit that needs to be fixed. Okay, I just discovered that I didn't have one of the buttons pushed on this unit I've never used before. So as a kind of immediate impression, remember I've got an unknown receiver here, unknown bookshelf speakers. And it actually has a kind of a solid bass that I'm impressed with, given the kind of a cheap setup that I've got here. There's every reason to believe that the turntable is working well. I think what we'll do is go towards the end of the record and make sure that the auto return works as intended. While we wait for this to finish up, I'm going to rant about YouTube copyright problems, which I'm sure I'll run into here. So clearly I'm not trying to monetize this record. I'm using the record for demo purposes, but I bet they're going to blast me for that anyway. I'll tell you in the comment section after it's done, in the description. Here's the auto return in action. So that worked perfectly. I didn't have any evidence of skipping or scratching on the record. So a little research shows that this was released in 1977 and cost $99 list price at the time. The article I found said that they considered it sort of a high-end budget turntable, and the fact that it's or the other way around, it could be a low-end high performance turntable. the fact that this has some high performance features on the overall mass of it and the adjustments tells me that this is probably, you know, a good turntable. But there was some real value here for my $12.99 with a 20% discount from a coupon I had. Got the needle. That may be worth 50 bucks by itself. The needle that's on here seemed to be okay, which is probably why it's still on here and this one is in the package. This isn't a beautiful collector's item, so someone would probably be buying it for a functional reason. So with just a little bit of refurb, which was putting the belt back on it and then adjusting the tracking on this, very little effort, I've got a unit that might be worth, based on eBay prices, it looks like it's worth in the $200 to $300 range. So this is a real find, and if you ever see a really heavy turntable with these kind of features at a thrift store for cheap, you know what to do. So that ends our video for today on this Pioneer PL-514 automatic return turntable. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye.